Today we have Andrew Silva with us, who has taken a different path.
Working around that type of money, you become like super desensitized to it. I've lost $500,000. I want to play music that's fun and exciting to me.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Makers and Jam. This week and the next few weeks, we're going to kind of have a theme that was inspired actually by Rick Rubin for me. And that's the 9-to-5 guy who's also an artist or musician and working on their craft while they're doing a day job. So we've got guys like Anthony and Denny here who play music for a living, and they're fortunate to do that, and it's awesome. Not everybody can do that. And so today we have Andrew Silva with us, who has taken a different path, not necessarily the wrong path, just a different path. And I want to spend a few weeks on this because I think it's really important. You know, growing up, I was always told you had to do one thing and do it really, really well. And I realized I'd never be really great at just one thing. I'd like to be above average on a few things. But I think, Andrew, you're doing a few things and you're still working on your music. And so I want to talk about that a little bit today and maybe the next few weeks. But you actually have a degree in music, Andrew,
I do.
right? So
I
let's
do.
talk about that.
Yeah, so I've been playing music for I'm old, 20 years now. And, I started in school. I learned guitar in school, and then I continued learning when I went to UNLV. I got a degree in music, and then I got a master's degree in music. And, it's a passion, and it's something that I've always wanted to do is be a musician. I remember like the very first time I got it's called the spark, I guess, right? Or like for some of us, I would say like it's like the first time you're like, this is what I want to do, right?
Yep.
It was in 8th grade, and we were playing a rock concert for like our middle school, and my band like got to pick our 2 songs, and what we played was "Smells Like Teen Spirit" and "Enter Salmon" by Metallica.
Yeah.
And I remember playing those songs, and like the feeling I got just playing the music and like being on stage in front of people, like I was like, this is it, like it hit. Like then I was like, this is what I want to do. That's when I decided I want to go to a magnet school to pursue music there, and like leave all my friends to go to their own high school. And I was like, I remember what one of the ladies said. She said, in 20 years from now, your friends aren't going to pay your bills. Your friends aren't going to do this. So like, you just need to start making decisions.
Do it for you.
Yeah, do it for yourself.
That's awesome. Let me ask you two a question. When did you guys get that aha moment of, hey, this is what I want to do? Anthony, what was it with you?
For me, it was just being able to play to a song, and then like, because I just envisioned myself playing like a solo or something. I never pictured to be a singer or nothing. I was like, man, if I could just be like a shredder.
How old were you when that happened?
I was in middle school, so I don't know. What would that be, like 11?
11-ish.
Yeah.
What about you, Denny?
For me, it was an algebra class. Our teacher put on the Beatles while we were doing our assignments, and I'm like, that's pretty cool.
No kidding.
Yeah, that got me interested in like wanting to learn. I was like 16, turning 17.
See, that's crazy. I was like 8, and I was I think 4th grade or 3rd grade or so. I don't remember what grade, but we had music assembly, and they brought out this drum, and the music teacher started playing this. I'm like, ooh, that's what I want to do. But it's interesting how we had that. We all had kind of that aha moment. But then there was a pivot for you, Andrew, right? You went to music, went to college for that too. So
Yeah. So I was, in college, obviously you're doing it every day. And then there's like, I remember feeling super rebellious in college too, because like you're putting in a lot of effort, like to like learn this music for, the jazz band or whatever instrument, whatever orchestra group you're part of, but you're not getting paid. And I'm spending like so much of my time like doing this work. And I'm like, man, I'm not getting paid. Like this hit me later in my college career, obviously. Then at that time also though, I started playing a lot professionally, like and regularly. Playing just like you guys, cover gigs regularly around town, and something happened to me where I kind of got burnt out, and that sucked just because it's a music is a passion of mine, and it's like, I remember there being days where I didn't want to pick up the guitar and like just not wanting to play, and like that's hard, like that, and that really took something out of me. And so I learned that I needed to basically find the right balance between playing music and then also like being able to make a living. So I had to look for other work. So
Where did you just say I'm just going to take any job? Did you look for something in the music business?
no, so another passion of mine at that time was sports gambling.
You're in Vegas.
Yeah. So I mean that's its own story as in itself. Because so I guess the same time around middle school, my grandfather, like my family's very big into sports. So but my grandfather would like let me like put $5 on like parlay cards, right? And that's like where it started. Like for me, I guess the gambling thing. And it's like
It's a whole nother episode.
yeah. I mean, obviously. How that started though was like parlays, and if you don't know what a parlay basically means you're picking multiple things to happen, and if all of them happen, you win your bet. I was wondering like, well, how come I'm never winning my parlay bets? And so like that kind of started me going down the path of like learning like what good bets are, like, and getting more into mathematics. And so that's when I started working at a casino. And well, when I was later in my life, I started looking at jobs, and I started working at a casino and got into sports gambling. And so that job became super stressful.
Let's talk about that, because I think you started at the sports book, but then you kind of graduated to something way more advanced.
Yeah, right. So it's like I was thinking like obviously I wanted to, trade sports, be a trader is what they call it, and I was like, well, how do I get that job with like no experience? And I guess I just thought I'd work my way up, right? So that's what I did. I started at a sports book, and obviously working around that type of money, you become like super desensitized to it, because like I've seen hundreds of thousands of dollars just get lost like in 2 hours, or not even 2 hours, like maybe 30 minutes. And, and they'll be back like the next day, drop another 200,000, win it. And then it's like a reoccurring pattern. But, so that's where I started working around it. And then I finally got promoted to work, as a trader. And that was like a completely different level of stress, because
can you define what a trader is for us?
Yeah, so what a trader is, basically you're trading the sports line that a game is put up. So let me start that over. You're trading the line for a game. You're trading how much the team's going to win by, and then you're also managing the risk involved with the money. So for example, today's NFL Sunday, it's usually hundreds of millions of dollars are bet on every NFL Sunday. And on one NFL game, probably, hundreds of millions of dollars. And so, for example, what I would do was we would offer a line on a game. I'm just going to make up a game right now, like Lions versus the Packers. And people would come and bet that game. And depending on how they bet, who bet, how much was bet, we would move the line based off of that. And
can you explain moving the line?
So moving the line means you're adjusting the odds. So for example, let's say in that instance, the Packers were favored to beat the Lions by 3 points. Somebody comes and bets X amount of money. We would move the line on the Packers. We would adjust the odds to make the Packers more favored. So we want to incentivize people to bet on the Lions. But there's like obviously way more layers to it than just that.
And you're doing this real time while the game is going on.
Yeah, so there's two aspects of it. So you're doing pre-game trading, which means before the game starts, and then you're doing live in-game trading, which that's also stressful as well, because you have to make sure that the game state is correct to represent the correct odds that are being put up. But that was super stressful. I mean, I've lost based on my decisions.
Yeah.
$500,000 in like one day. And it's like, obviously I'm not seeing that money, but on the computer screen, you're seeing like minus 500 million, and you're just like
500,000
or 500,000. Yeah. And I'm just like, that was me. Like, damn.
That was a bad decision. That was a $500,000 decision.
Yeah. And then your boss comes in. He's like, well, why'd you do that? Why'd you move that line that way? And you have to defend your decisions because,
but you just cost the company $500,000.
Well, yeah, but obviously you're gonna make it back ideally like the next day, but sometimes it doesn't work out that way. But also like, you know, that's kind of the nature of the game. But I mean, it was a big rush, but also it was like super stressful, and yeah, it was fun for a little bit.
So I would think that they've got some statistician or mathematician doing this job. I know you're good at math. I think you have a master's.
Well,
in
yeah, I mean, I failed
right?
stats in high school.
Perfect.
But it is basic math. Everything's basic math. If you understand basic math, you can trade. But you just have to obviously be on your toes and be good at it, good at math.
Because here's what I'll tell you guys. As you know, as a musician, you guys read charts all the time. I've got charts in front of me. I hate reading charts because my ADD brain starts going off. Let's say you've got 8 bars, you've got a rest or something. I'm just, I'm 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, and then all of a sudden someone comes on. Shit, I missed that. So I hated that part of playing music. And in fact, I would spend the time to memorize everything and just use the charts as the security blanket, right? But I know I work with a lot of musicians, you guys included, where that's all you're doing is going through charts and reading and counting and reading and counting. I would think maybe mathematics and music kind of going hand in hand. I'm curious what the three of you think.
Well, I can answer that. They do go hand in hand, but they go hand in hand a lot, like theoretically. So, for example, if we get into like the nitty gritty of like music, like the hertz of different sounds and why certain harmonies sound correct and why certain harmonies don't sound correct, it's mathematically correct, like hertz wise. When you're taking like a tone and then it has like the overtones above it, it's all mathematics on like what the next tone is actually coming. So it does work out.
But do you? So I play a lot of. I'm a big Rush fan, right? I play a lot of odd time signatures, but I never count them. I always feel through them. Do you guys literally count, or do you go by feel?
Feel for me.
Depends on the music for me.
Yeah, I guess it depends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't great at math, and that was the part I had a hard time with. You give me charts, I'm like, God damn.
No, yeah, I feel like there's also
this,
like a really cool trend happening, like in like a lot of jazz tunes that I've been listening to. Like a lot of tunes are writing in 7, which is cool. Like it's a very odd time signature. So, but I think some of them you can feel, and then after in the middle of a song, you're like, it feels normal to count in 7. But like when you're first hearing it, you're like, wait, what am I listening to? And you kind of have to count it out, and then after that, you're like, okay, now this feels good.
Yeah, I was given a song in 13/8 once, and I didn't even know that was a thing. And I literally I spent I don't know how many hours trying to figure out how do you break that down and count it. But so I know you're good at math. I'm sure you guys are too. But where I'm trying to bring this around to is you were literally making real-time decisions that were mathematical decisions that would cost or make a business hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Well, it was stressful.
And then you got out of that.
I got out of that.
And you went into...
now I'm a product manager for a company called Lucy Hub.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
Never
That's a
heard of
great
that company. Yeah. It's
That's awesome.
If you guys ever heard of it, it's a pretty sweet company.
I appreciate the plug.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to talk a bit about. Ruben talked about how having a 9-to-5 takes the pressure off of you to really focus on your art and your craft and not have to worry about the dollars. I look at everybody in this room and, people label themselves as a musician or a videographer or a sound engineer. I look at us and I say, I see it through the lens of an entrepreneur. We're all entrepreneurs here. We're all out doing our thing, making our buck. And having started several businesses, I always had to do the side hustle. I had to have the job. And then burning the midnight oil was what was the passion I was working on, right? And it worked because you needed the capital to push into the new idea. You needed the capital for whatever you wanted to do. And I don't think it's any different as a musician, right? If you're going to want studio time or gear or a lot of that. I'm going to defer to Allie here. Allie, you run a production team during the day, but you're a creative and an artist and a filmmaker by night, right?
Yeah.
You weren't that before. Did this take the pressure off of you?
Yeah, I think so. I'm more selective of the projects I take now, and I can just kind of have fun with it, and and it's really funny because the projects that I don't necessarily want to do, I can just kind of throw it to Lucy Hub and make extra money.
Yeah, we got another plug at Lucy Hub. But my point is, you used to have to take every gig. At some point, we've all had to take every gig, and this kind of takes you away from that. Mm-hmm. And why I want to focus on this for the next few weeks is I think it hopefully you'll give some other artists, not just musicians, but any artist or even entrepreneur, an idea of a path you can take. You don't have to be all in to make it work. Sure, it's going to be a slower road. It's also going to be a little less risky road, but I think it'll help your creativity flourish. I remember the first agency I started, I loved filmmaking, right? But then it became real pressure because you had to deliver for the client, and you had to deliver what the client wanted, when the client wanted it, and the stress of it made it so it just wasn't fun anymore, and I got out of it. And so I think, doing the 9 to 5 or doing that side hustle will help you be a lot more creative. Now, I play a lot of covers. You guys all play a lot of covers. I really enjoy it, but I think you wanted to take a different path, Andrew, right?
Yeah. So I mean, that's exactly what how I felt. What you just explained very articulately. I felt the burden of I have to take that gig or to pay my car payment, and I hated that because I don't want to. I mean, my dream is not to play Don't Stop Believing, like I freaking hate playing I hate that song now because I play it all the goddamn time. Or like Tennessee Whiskey. Gosh, I'm so tired of playing Tennessee Whiskey. Like I want to, not that they're bad songs, but I just am tired of playing them because I want to play music that's fun and exciting to me. And obviously I think my music is fun and exciting to myself. Obviously that's like the bias, but other songs are obviously still like Rush. That'd be awesome to play, but you're not getting called to play a Rush gig very often.
Anybody wants me to play a Rush gig, I'm down.
Yeah. So, but you're, speaking to what Ali said too, like taking the projects you want to work on. Like now I am very selective with the gigs that I take that are cover gigs because I mean, I got to like you to take those cover gigs. You got to be my friend or you got to have talent.
It's got to pay really well.
Or it's got to pay really well. Like I'm not going to just take a random duo gig because this lady needs a guitar player now.
So what I was saying is I remember when I was writing in 2019, 2020, and I wasn't really gigging, it was prolific writing, and then I started gigging, and everything kind of went to the wayside when it came to the original. So I totally get what you're saying. Let's use this as a point to talk about your music, your originals. You just released a song.
Yes.
And let's talk about that.
Okay. The song is called Can't Get You Off of My Mind. And basically it's about when you can't stop thinking about someone. So this kind of has layers of depths, but I wrote this song to play with not like I didn't think it was going to be anything. I wrote it because on Tuesday nights sometimes I get together with a bunch of old guys and we just jam on like old songs. And by old guys, I mean...
Yeah, listen and watch it, pal.
Yeah. No. Older than you, Amir. We play songs from like the 60s and 70s. Shout out to Rob and Andy and Dave. And so it's actually like my best friend's dad from middle school and high school that we just, stayed in contact ever since. So I go over to his house and we would get together and like I say, we play these songs from the 60s and 70s. And so I was like, that's when I started writing my own music. And I wanted to write something that the band could play. And so I wrote it in a kind of 60s and 70s rock style. And not to get too technical, but like even like the chord progression I use is very 60s and 70s. Like it's like I took it straight from like a Beatles thing.
Well, I was gonna say because I've heard a few of your songs, there seems to be a lot of Beatles influence.
That's funny. That's super funny because like I hated the Beatles like with a passion, and then
How can you hate the Beatles?
my ex-girlfriend got me into the Beatles. Like she used to like we would like be around the house and like she used to sing all the time and I love that. But like she would just like be doing something and singing and she would have her phone on and she would always sing the Beatles. Like she loved the Beatles. It was always the Beatles and Adele, which I was never a really big Adele fan, but I appreciate Adele's music a lot more now too. So she got me into the Beatles. So I didn't start liking the Beatles until I don't know 3 or 4 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Kind of random. I was more into
and-
like the Doors.
And
you
yet
know.
your songs have a lot of.
They have a
Beatles
lot.
influence.
So yeah, like what happened is like that oldies band, and then also, I got into the Beatles and I started like listening to their music, and it's very I really like a lot of like their harmonies and how they use different chord changes and different progressions, and I became a fan of the Beatles. So now I'm a huge fan of the Beatles.
Awesome. So the song is about a girl.
It's about a
Just like
girl.
most songs are.
Yeah, as most songs are,
And
which
wh-
is funny as well.
And so when we build our songs, there's favorite parts we have and all of that. What are yours in this one?
Oh, I got a lot. I'm gonna grab my guitar and we'll
grab
go
your
over
guitar
it.
because I was listening to the lyrics, and there's one piece that actually that I want to talk about, which sounds like a line from a movie.
Yep. So there's a couple parts. The first part that I want to talk about is the main riff. So like when I wrote this song, it kind of starts out like Pretty Woman in my mind, like pop, 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 right?
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, so I kind of wanted that groove. So then after that, I was like, okay, well, I have these chords and I kind of have this idea. And I went to my best friend, Nick Schmidt. Shout out Nick Schmidt, best friend, love you. I went over to his house and I was like, dude, I want to do something. And he helped me come up with this riff, which, so that riff is something that Nick came up with. And that riff itself is kind of like built off of the Mixolydian scale. But also, like, it plays in between a major and minor thing, which is something that we love from our, like, inner love of Creed. Like, Creed is a great band. I'll defend them to the day I die. So that's, like, one of the very fun things about this song is, like, that riff. Mixolydian, but also playing between minor and major. So, kind of bluesy, right?
Yep.
So that's, like, one of the favorite parts. Obviously, like you said, lyrically, one of the things, lyrics, like as you were ascertaining to, the song I wrote, the person I wrote the song for, she's like, her favorite movie is Dumb and Dumber. And I loved that movie when I was a kid. I'm sure like growing up in the 90s, like I wore out that VHS. It was that, Ace Ventura, and like Happy Gilmore. Like that's all we watched at my house.
Well, the line I heard is the line I wore out, and I don't know how many times I've used that line. So go ahead and
Yeah, so the second verse goes, like Harry and Lloyd, the characters from Dumb and Dumber, I'm dumb for her and I can't get you off of my mind. And then the famous quote from that movie is like when Lloyd is asking Mary Swanson if they have a chance together, and she's like, 1 in a million, and he goes, so you're saying there's a chance. And so it's, so you're saying there's a chance, 1 in a million, yeah, I can't get you off of my mind.
So I have a funny story about that piece of it. I was presenting a business idea to a potential investor, and I said, so what do you think about this? And he looks at me and goes, I think it's 1 in a million. And I looked at him and I said, so you're saying there's a chance?
Yeah.
And we were at a dinner, and his wife was there, and his wife almost spit out her food because that's not what I got out of it.
Yeah. And then obviously musically, I'm a huge Pink Floyd fan. So like I wanted to do something kind of like weird and trippy in the middle of the song. So if you guys know Pink Floyd, they have that the Dark Side of the Moon album. It starts out with Breathe.
Yep.
So I basically just stole those chords and put them in the middle of my
Is that the
song.
bridge?
That's the bridge, yeah. So the bridge is on the recorded version. There's a piano solo there. But I wanted it to be like kind of trippy and spacey and like out of this world. And then I really like at the end of the song, I really like the guitar solo that we came up with. And I don't know, I really try to capture like my emotion in the playing, and like I'm just in my mind, like when I close my eyes and I'm playing that solo, I can just like, I don't know, see.
Well, let me
that
ask you about
person's
the
face,
solo.
so.
Do you construct the solos, or do you just let it run and riff and see what you like out of it?
So sometimes when you're recording like that, it's like a little bit of all of that. So you're doing a take and you're like, oh, I like this, what I did here, I'll keep that. And other times you'll play something a bunch of different times. And you're like, I like that take more than that take. But what happened on this one is I had this idea like for a melody. Whoop. Kind of like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with, what's that song? Overkill by, what's that band? I can't think of. Talking Heads, I think maybe. basically like everybody knows this progression, right? This is like my favorite progression. And so this is like obviously a couple songs, right? But
Yeah.
it's that I kind of got that idea listening to that song Overkill of that melody. Anyways, so like I was like, I want to start out the solo with the melody. So I did that. And then I was like, then maybe something flashy. So I just did like kind of like something, I don't know, a little bit more technical. And then after that, I just like went for feel.
Yeah.
And so I've noticed that in my own playing though, like when I was younger, I think I wanted to. Can we cuss on this? I don't.
Yeah, you
All
can say
right.
whatever you
All
want.
right. I've noticed that when I was younger, and I think a lot of young players have this problem. They want to fuck the world.
Yeah.
Like they want to be like, this is who I am. Blah, 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 blah.
They want
Like,
to show how good they are.
yeah, right. And like that takes away from the musicality because, and I still hear that problem with a lot of good musicians.
A lot of
in town.
drummers. It's a big problem with a lot of drummers. They just want to show you how great their chops are, and they forget about the song.
Yeah, and I mean that happens I mean, gosh, I know players in town that are great players, but I hear them play sometimes and I'm like, man, that wasn't that good. And it's like if you just didn't play as much and learned how to breathe, like that's something that I think horn players have like a huge advantage over us, like string guys and like drummers, is that horn players have to breathe. And learning how to breathe is such an important part of like becoming a good soloist. So part of that's like on the solo, like I try to like taking space, being like B.B. King and David Gilmour. Those are like some of the greatest soloists because they're able to tell the story in their playing.
Yeah.
And so like I wanted to try to do that. So
That's awesome. You guys, let's play the song for the audience and see if they could catch some of the stuff you did.
yeah,
You guys are up for this?
let's
do it.
do this. Start with the drums. 1, 2, 3, 4. Bass. Another night alone and I surely miss you. Yeah, I can't get you off of my mind. It's been so long, I don't know what to do. I can't get you off of my mind. And I wanna steal you away. And in my dreams, I hope you'll say, take me away with you and show me what you've been through. I just wanna spend one night with you. Then we can find what's been on my mind. Let's make love. Here we go. Like Harry and Lloyd, I'm done for. Yeah, I can't get you off of my mind. You're saying there's a chance, 1 in a million. Yeah, I can't get you off of my mind. And I wanna steal you away. And in my dreams, I hope you'll say, take me away with you and show me what you've been through. I just wanna spend one night with you. Then we can find what's been on my mind. Let's make love. And I wanna steal you away. And in my dreams, I hope you'll say, take me away with you and show me what you've been through. I I just wanna spend one night with you. Take me away with you. Show me what you've been through. I just wanna spend one night with you. Then we can find what's been on my mind. Yeah, we can find what's been on my mind. Let's make love. Sweet.
That was awesome, man. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a bit of a workout for me. I mean, I feel like you're a musician's songwriter. Like that was had a lot of transitions. It changed tempo. It did a lot of things.
Yeah. Well, I try to write, going back to my musical degree, I try to like incorporate things that I learned in college, and but trying to I think that's the secret to success. I've always compared like jazz music as like being like a really fine wine, and like pop music as being fast food. And so being able to find the right level of sophistication but also accessibility is like something I try to do like writing musically. So
well, I know I missed a break because I wasn't reading the charts. But, also, it was a lot of fun for me to play. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt, but it was a driving fast song, and
yeah, I mean, this one's definitely meant to be like upbeat.
yeah, no,
So.
it was really cool. Switching gears. Let's talk about the application of the day job to the side gig. Can you apply all the stuff you're doing during the day to what you're doing with your music?
The answer is yes. So, not so much musically, like writing musically. I'm gonna put this bad boy down. But more so like trying to be a successful musician. So, I mean, I don't know how many musicians we've worked with where we're like, man, this guy or this girl is beyond talented and why are they playing some dingy bar down the street? Like, I mean, I think we've all seen that.
Yeah,
I think. And I think a lot of that comes down to managing your music as a business. I mean, obviously, being good is part of it, practicing, knowing your shit. But the other part of it is, well, I should also add being a good person is definitely part of it as well. Being able to build connections and sustain those connections. But then the other part of it is also managing this as a business. And that's definitely something that my day job is definitely helping me learn how to do and hopefully do successfully. We'll find out, I guess. I don't know. But success, I guess, is also just judged by the eye of the beholder. But anyways,
But you bring up a good point. I mean, everybody in this room is a good musician, right? And being a good musician is the fundamental piece of it. If you look at it like a business, it's the product, right? We can all create a product. I always say building a product is hard. Marketing it and selling it is even harder, right? And I think if you look at most musicians or just artists in general, whether they're musicians or dancers or videographers, filmmakers, whatever, they forget that there's a business side and they need to learn the business side, right? You need to understand business development. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand how important it is to do the networking. the finance side of it. Even if you have a manager, make sure your manager is making the right decisions and not screwing you. And I think too many people don't learn that side of it, and I think it costs all artists in general. So it's cool that you're applying all of that.
Yeah, especially like as you said, the marketing aspect of it. That is
Yeah.
like such a huge thing, because my thought is like, how do I get somebody to know who I am that's never heard of me like that? And how do I get somebody to spend 3 minutes to listen to my song, like that doesn't know who I am? Like if I go to your neighbor who I don't know, like how do I say, hey, listen to my music, and they're just gonna close the door on me?
Yeah, your elevator pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of it is that.
Maybe we do a whole series on the business of music and just bring professionals in to talk to musicians about this, because I think it's incredibly important stuff that nobody ever tells you. They tell you how to play your parts. They teach. I mean, you got a master's in jazz composition. Did you ever learn about the business of music?
No.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's funny you bring that up, because I was just talking to a young guy, and we were talking about the business of music, and we were like, that should have been like one of the very first things that you should have learned in school, is like getting a gig and like making that gig successful. Like, how do you do that? Like,
And profitable.
Yeah.
Right.
and profitable. That's the hard part. That's the hardest part, is being profitable. Because if you're playing your own stuff, sure, your friends and family are going to come. They're not going to come every time. I mean, not that they don't want to see you every time, but they got their own lives too. But how do I get people to come in off the street and give a chance to me and spend their night with me on a Friday night that they don't know who this guy is?
And more than once, because we could all do that. We can all fill a room once, right? How
Yeah.
do you do it consistently?
Exactly. And it's not doing things that aren't something they know, not, doing something that's not Don't Stop Believing. How do you get them to care about your songs? Well, part of it's you gotta be a good person, have, a lot of it. Like you gotta, all of that stuff that we just listed. You have to have catchy music. You have to have the spunk. You have to, do
But
everything.
one of the things I really liked, I came to one of your shows, you actually talked about the story of the song before you played the song. And that, I felt like, got people emotionally connected to the song.
Yeah, so all my songs are, as you alluded to, about a girl, which is funny because I remember like when I was young, my dad said to me like, all songs are basically love songs, and I was like, no, they're not. And then now I, was never a love song guy, and now here I am.
Writing
Now
a
I'm
shit ton of love
now I'm
songs.
just a love song guy. Like that's all. I don't know. Like I have a hard time not writing love songs. So, but yeah, I mean, every song's about a girl, I guess.
Well, you'll write some other songs.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
Maybe it'll be about a boy.
her beach, or about a beer. A lot of songs about whiskey and beer. So, Andrew, I appreciate you being on the show. One of the things we do is we close out the show. Everybody here does covers.
Yeah.
Hearing your story made it interesting for me to realize, that I said, hey, what's your favorite cover to play? And you said the Beatles.
And I said the Beatles. Like I said, well, it's because of those old guys that I play with, and this is one of the tunes that we would play on a Tuesday night. So, and
And it's one of your favorite songs to play. I think this one actually is going to be even better because I didn't know the Beatles influenced you, Denny, on becoming a musician. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I credit Paul McCartney as
Be the
the
bass
main
player?
influence as to why I started playing bass. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
I should say that also, we went to go see Paul McCartney.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, and that was like a great concert,
Nice.
man.
Oh my
Like he
God.
played for 3 hours straight.
Yeah,
Like, and this dude,
that's cool.
that's something about old guys. I don't know what it is.
There
Like,
he goes with the old jokes again.
no, it's just I have a family friend of a very old organ player in town. His name's Ronnie Foster, amazing jazz
Oh, yeah.
organist. This guy,
Plays basketball.
he plays basketball.
Yeah,
Like
full court.
he plays full court basketball with like Floyd Mayweather and like all these guys. Like, but he has like so much energy. Like even like when he's playing his sets, they don't, I think, take breaks.
Well,
And-
I remember at Paul McCartney, I looked at you, I said, we better step up our game. Like, we bitch about having one break on a 3-hour set. Paul McCartney let his band take a break, and he stayed up there and
keep
played
going.
the entire time.
I get it though. Because like playing my own shows, I don't mind being up there by myself, but I feel bad for my guys if they're just up there and I'm over here like rambling on. But
I love doing. I mean, we used to play with Megan, and we did a 4-hour gig once. You remember that, Denny?
Yep.
4-hour gig. Everybody got a bathroom break.
It's a standard in Nashville on
Yeah.
Broadway. 4 hours, no breaks.
Yeah,
yeah,
But-
well, that's wild.
you won't need a gym.
Yeah.
Just my breaks out.
Yeah.
Well, Andrew, I appreciate you coming up, telling us the story. I think I'm going to do a whole series on this whole concept that I heard Rick Rubin talk about, which was the 9 to 5 actually lets you breathe and gives you the flexibility to really put your passion into your art. So, thanks for coming here.
Yeah.
Got the Makers and Jam band, Denny and Anthony. Thanks for the time. Let's take it out with some Beatles, guys.
Yeah. Ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Well, she was just 17, and you know what I mean. And the way she looked was way beyond compare. Now how could I dance with another? Oh, when I saw her standing there. Well, she looked at me, and I could see that before too long I'd fall in love with her.